All right, so today we have TJ Storment on. You'll notice TJ is quite large. TJ plays football. TJ, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and just tell us what you do right now, what you're into, and what you got coming up.
What's up, guys? TJ Storment. Heading into my senior year at TCU. Had a little bit of a COVID break, so I came out here and hung out with Wes. There's a good chance I'll be back out here after the season to train and some other stuff. So it's always good to connect. What else?
We always have a good time when you come out. You know, we usually have a video game that we grind on. This time we started with Luigis Mansion, which was a complete and utter dud. It was like homework playing it. TJ
respectfully disagree.
TJ hated it. He plays the Luigi, and then he just gets on his phone until it's his turn to do something. And I'm like, TJ, come, go,
focus.
And then he'll put his phone down, and then he'll do his little Luigi part, his little gooey guy part, and then I'll have to go and do some more.
That sucks. The OG Luigi's Mansion is like one of the best games on the.
It's fine. It's just the combat systems.
Don't get me started. Ever since God of War, we've been spoiled.
Yeah,
Why can't you axe someone in Luigi's Mansion?
Killing ghosts with a vacuum cleaner the same way every time is just a little bit lame.
I can see that getting repetitive.
But whatever. He made me download what is it, TJ? Warzone. So we spent 100 gigs of my PlayStation's available space on Warzone, and we logged basically a full 12 hours of Warzone yesterday.
Tried to get on there and grind with you guys. I got through the tutorial, and then I played 2 matches. I think I was killed in 10 seconds or less. I didn't even make it to the ground. I got shot in my parachute and was like, fuck this game. I'm not playing this.
Dude, TJ gets the helicopter every time, and then he gets 5 kills immediately. He just rotor blades 4 people like right
crash
off
into
the bat.
a group.
You run him over. He has pretty good strategy.
Yeah, he'll get him with the blades. Sometimes he smashes him with the body. Yeah,
I was running around with the pistol.
Yeah, you won't be able to do it. It's actually really hard. He makes it look so easy.
It's very hard. Yeah,
I'm like, anyone can get helicopter kills. So I dive into the helicopter. Somehow I get there first. Finally, after like 3 or 4 tries of dying instantly trying to do it. One time I just parachuted just right into the rotor blades that were already on. Instant death. That didn't even touch the ground. But anyway, so to get in the air and then trying to fly around and kill these kids, and it's not easy. So
competitive.
Take some
shooting
practice.
Games are not my forte.
You have to practice, dude.
Yeah,
it's
that's
hard.
why.
It's hard. We were talking about maybe streaming some video games when he gets back to TCU. Streaming some Warzone.
Streaming some Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah.
So be on the lookout for the Twitch.
Yeah, all you nerds that are into weightlifting. I think that,
everyone who's into weightlifting.
This could be fun. Yeah, I think that's like one of the. It's like a prerequisite for weightlifting is you have to be a nerd. So I think it'll be fun. Anyways, maybe no one will watch it except for your and Chevy's mom.
I don't think they know what Twitch is. YouTube, sure, shit's been around since 2003. Spitballing, but Twitch, I don't know.
So, me and TJ have this like annual thing where he comes out and gets a little fitness vacation and
How did you guys meet?
On Tinder.
Okay.
Bumble.
Wasn't it Grindr? I thought
Grindr.
Yeah.
That's for boys. So TJ's family is actually been longtime friends with Kendall's family. So we kind of met through that, and it was actually a long time ago. TJ was still in high school, I think.
Right.
He still played some basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So TJ was a
multi-sport athlete.
Yeah, multiple sport athlete. He had some baseball too.
I also think he'd power clean 170, 175.
175 kilos power clean for TJ, which is, upper like 99% for college football.
Yeah.
And probably upper like 90% for weightlifting.
For weightlifting, sure. 175 power. That's more than my best is 172.
We'd have to look at other supers in the US, but yeah, I'd say it's pretty it's pretty
respectable.
TJ's always been into working out, dude, like from the jump. So your parents, I don't really know how they started this, but power cross, like when did that get going? And how did you work into that?
Right, yeah. So for my family, I mean, they've just pretty much devoted their entire lives to serving, I guess would be an easy way to put it. Power cross started me and 4 buddies, we were like 8 years old. Mom and dad were real successful in the business world, and kind of just felt God calling them to do a little more. They kind of noticed that a lot of my teammates, we live in a pretty low income area, a lot of inner city kids, and
In South Carolina?
right, North Carolina.
North
So
Carolina.
right outside of South
I
Carolina.
always mix them up. I forget which
So,
one's on
yeah.
top.
Disrespect.
It's a city called,
Put some respect on that,
Right,
please.
yeah.
North Carolina. What
yeah,
part?
Birdman. So
Birdman, North Carolina?
no, Birdman was the guy that said the respect thing.
Oh.
Oh, Harvey Birdman.
Yeah. Was it Birdman or was it Gucci? It was Birdman, right? Birdman?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that guy.
Okay. But anyway, yeah. So back to religion.
Ruined every
and
Lil
other
Wayne
stuff
song
sometimes.
ever with them.
You're right. That is.
Yeah, does he even have like his own song?
I don't know.
Ironically, ruining things.
Lemonade.
No
That's
respect.
Gucci. I don't know. They're the same people to me. So growing up, I was like 8 years old, multi-sport athlete, just doing all that kind of thing.
How
And
big were you when you were 8?
I don't know, 5'8".
The biggest
5'7".
8-year-old in your
I was
class?
pretty large.
Were
yeah.
you heavy 8-year-old or just a
I
tall
was
one?
kind of like from like ages 8 to 17. I was kind of that, or no, like 8 and 9. I was really above everybody just because I was kind of more athletic and tall, so I could utilize both. But then from like the middle growth years, from like 10 to from like 10 to 14, I was kind of that like skinny fat where I just couldn't really do anything.
That's
where like
fair.
I was tall, but I had no muscle mass or
That's all of us when we're 10 to 14.
right. No, but I was like especially
Especially gooey.
thicky. Yeah, gooey.
Yeah. That's why you resonate with gooey. You said.
Right. That's why me and Ghoulies, you really hit it off. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
So you're 8 and you've got some buddies. You guys are in low income area.
Right.
Playing
So
sports.
mom and dad, real successful in the business world. And I don't know, just kind of felt God calling them. We didn't really grow up super religious, but our Christian faith has come to be, the primary point of, my life especially, but mom and dad too, is just have kind of dedicated their entire life to serving. But it's me and 4 buddies, going to basketball practice, and dad just kind of noticed that these guys could use some, additional guidance. And so we ended up just inviting them over to hang out. And it started with like a Bible study of me and 4 buddies, and dad was teaching. Dad didn't really know anything about church or any of that kind of thing either, but he just saw that there was a need to plug into these kids, And so it was something he's like, all right, well, let's make this a weekly thing, but they were still full-time into their jobs. And, as time kind of went on, the next time there was 10 kids and there was 20. And then, before long, there's 30 of us at the house playing wiffle ball every day,
Yeah.
and, throwing up, mess them up football, flag football,
That's
that kind
awesome.
of stuff.
That is
And-
really cool.
Right. And then, dad kind of, you look at his story, like powercross.org, you can kind of watch, their version. I grew up in the ministry, so it's a little different for me. But, I've just been able to see the amazing work God's done through my parents. But, the group continued to grow. And, there's some other stuff, like some other signs mom and dad had were like early on in the ministry, there was like 20 of us coming weekly. And like mom and dad had this recurring dream where dad, he'd always talk about like he'd have this dream where he saw these people inside like an indoor turf football complex, kind of like we got here. And he's like, he'd see like their hands praising God. And he never really understood what it meant, but like he'd have it frequently, bi-monthly, that kind of thing. And then he woke up one night and he was looking at mom, and mom was awake too. So, they do the, what are you doing up? What are you doing up? And then turns out mom had been having that same exact dream as well. So kind of when that happened and a few other things, it was kind of just a sign for them, like, yeah, we need to plug into this, we need to give it all we got. And so mom and dad ended up quitting their full-time jobs and just starting a ministry. And, it's continued to grow over through the years. We've had, several classes now, but now there's 2 different locations, about 450 kids weekly coming in and out of the program, and, tutoring athletic teams, football, basketball, baseball, wrestling. And then you have like a full, academic center. You have I think there's a couple thousand meals a week being fed now too. So
Wow.
it's just amazing to see that grow. And, I got 2 of the best parents in the world. So it's pretty cool to see it. Yeah.
Man, absolutely.
Well, and it's kind of exploded like semi recently, hasn't it?
Right. Well, they opened a second location. So,
Right.
the primary area had been Statesville, North Carolina for a
Right.
while, but now they've opened a branch in Salisbury. So with those 2, and, there's just been a lot of things, many ways God's provided with my parents just to see the ministry continue to grow. And, as long as they're plugging in, which they are, it's going to keep growing. So, I mean, there's just a lot of people in that area who are really doing great things.
I mean, that's such a like synergistic just to get like sports together with
Right.
guidance, and then they're serving meals too. Like
Right.
that's everything
That's
you
a-
need if you're a kid and you need a little bit of guidance. That's
Right.
like
That's a huge
it.
sacrifice to make too. You leave your jobs, your comfort, and you basically you're like steady income, like where you know how you're putting food on the table, and you just jump into like a new business. It's more of a service than it is like a job.
You're not turning profit with something like that. It's definitely.
Did you like when they did that? What, like, you were young, but did you ever like notice them feeling that financially?
Absolutely, yeah. There was some really big financial strains. I guess a story I'd tell. Steve Jones, who is somewhat related to Wes, I guess he'd be like his uncle-in-law's brother.
Steve Jones, my great uncle.
The family tree.
Right. Yeah. But anyway, Steve's a great mentor to my family and dad specifically. But I remember when we first met Steve, so like we had, I think there was like a group, it was around 25 a week at this time. And mom and dad, they were really struggling financially. And I think when they tell the story, they said there was like $15 in their checking account that day. They weren't getting paid until the end of the week. And they had 20 kids coming over thinking, how the heck are we going to feed all these guys? What's about it? Can't even afford to go to McDonald's.
Right.
And then that day at lunchtime, they just sat and prayed, and they weren't really sure, but they were just trusting that something would take care of it. That they checked the mail, and that was the first check from Steve Jones, who has been one of our biggest financial donors now, and just a great man of God. And that check just took care of that, and just stuff like that. I mean, just gives me chills talking about it, just seeing the grace of God and how all that kind of works out. But yes, I mean, as far as financially, yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a strain on mom and dad at some points, but I guess that's part of what faith is, just trusting that things are going to take care of itself. I guess you could kind of say it's kind of the same way as you taking a gamble moving out here, you know what I mean, following your dream, right?
Just take a shot and see what happens.
Yeah.
Right.
If you work really hard.
There's no guarantee, really. It's just you're doing something
if
you believe in.
If you put everything into the shots that you take, you're probably like, no matter what happens, you're not going to feel bad when you come out of it. You know what I mean? Like, even like if I got out here and it didn't work out, or I didn't end up improving, or if I got hurt, at least I came out here and gave it a shot, and I'm not going to have like regret. I'm not going to grow up and be like, man, I wonder what would have happened had I went to California, But I mean, what they did is more of like it's a ministry. Like so you said the area is like a little it's like a less fortunate area.
Absolutely.
North Carolina. So like, who primarily are you guys serving? Like, what are the people like that come by, or like, what are their situations?
I mean, it's typically it's an inner city youth ministry. My parents always try to describe it. Think of them as local missionaries. So many. You look at these big church groups, and it's a lot of the times why they get called so hypocritical. And, I'd be the first one to agree. I mean, churches think, hey, let's raise $10,000 to go to Haiti or to go to Africa, right? But think about all the kids in the community, right? Like, how many
kids down the street who could really use that
who
money.
could use that money just as much as anybody in the world, and you don't have to spend $5,000 on a plane ticket to go help them, right? Like, why can't you go help the kids in your backyard? Why do you have to go across the world once a year to take a photo op with it? Like, there's just so many people in the world who need help, and it's like, why not start in your own city?
Right. Well, I mean, you're like, that ministry is changing these kids' lives. Like, you're giving like kids that don't, they're maybe not learning the lessons they need to survive or have, improve their lives at home. They don't have good mentors at home. They get to come to Power Cross and they get mentorship. And then they get, on top of that, the ability to learn like a sport, learn a skill, an athletic.
Right.
And then you turn around and you use the education, the morality, the athleticism, and maybe you find this kid a scholarship. That's like ultimately the goal, right? To get kids educated.
Right. I mean, you look at like the initial, like there was one class older than my group, just because as it continued to grow, there were some older guys that came along. But like, I think my group, there was 8 of us who wanted to play college ball. And I mean, that's from, 2 high schools in a city. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't happen often.
Statistically.
Statistically.
One, maybe.
You look at,
or half.
Right. There was like, let's see, our quarterback, our running back, Kendrick Clark, like he went to Appalachian State, he's another JUCO guy. And you just look at all those different people, and it's like, we've been playing together since we were 8 years old. And it's like, it's pretty cool to look back on,
Yeah. I mean, that's an awesome, it's an awesome way to grow up and to like see success. And on top of that, you get to see your parents do this amazing thing.
And it shows that what they're doing is working, absolutely.
It's very cool. So, your athletic career has been pretty, successful. You took an interesting route,
Right. It's been a journey. Right. Yeah.
So, you were like playing in all the sports in high school, and then you decided on football. Right. And I'm guessing that's probably because you are a complete anomaly when it comes to human form.
Right. I am a larger person.
How tall?
6'7".
320?
320.
330 after this week.
321.
We have been. So he was eating keto, and then he gets out here, and I guess California just has all his favorite foods because
In-N-Out's a big one, yeah.
In-N-Out
I
is
couldn't
elite.
feed him no leftovers, bro.
Right.
He's just like, no, we got food to order. Pull up
We
the
can have the
DoorDash.
dinner we made, but there's pizza in the
Oh
world.
man! Oh, you know
Tell
what?
everybody what we're getting tonight. We'll put you on.
I took him to, or we got him Gay 90s. His
It's
new
delicious.
favorite pizza.
Yeah.
Or top. He said top 3. I think.
It's elite, like top 5 for me ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Mhm.
He's a big man that loves pizza too.
Okay, yeah, I'll take his word for it. It's,
Yeah.
it was good. We had it the other day. It's
Right.
Absolutely
legit.
delicious. So okay, you're a anomaly of a human. You know that you should probably play football because there's not many people as big as you. But you know, out of high school, you really, you know, like what was like your recruiting experience out of high school? What was that? What did you?
Right. So,
You know.
I mean, played football, basketball, and baseball heading into high school. When I got to high school, I wanted to focus just on football and baseball. Baseball was kind of my first love. I always really enjoyed it. You know, I'm left-handed, so I was able to pitch
Two
pretty
steps
well.
closer to first.
Right, 2 steps closer to first, and they say like the gravitational pull of the ball is better for lefties too. Like
Yeah, I
it's
believe
actually
that.
proven science. But
Their
You
penises
just-
that
are
was cool
bigger.
too.
You
But
just got to learn how to use scissors.
my gravitational.
You just got yourself using scissors. It sucks,
Right.
but like for baseball, lefty's a huge advantage.
Yeah, but my gravitational weight holding me on the ground was a little harder with baseball.
Heavy.
6'7", 320. Right.
That's a heavy arm
Right.
to like lug over your shoulder.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, and
pitch
what I-
Thousands of times
Right.
in a season.
Right.
So
Like I had some smaller looks to play both my junior year, but what I realized is like you can't really train the way you need to for each of them. Like you can't pitch and lift the way you need to as an offensive lineman.
Right.
You know, so like my junior year, I always talk about it. Like my junior year, my bench max was 185 pounds.
Right.
So like I had never developed, I had never lifted. And, you know, you look at kind of my recruiting process, it kind of reflected that. Like, you know, granted, I was growing into my body and I've continued to excel over the years, but at the same time, like I didn't have everything I needed to. So I was a little more lightly recruited. I had pretty much all the Ivy League schools and a lot of D1 AA looks, but, you know, I'd always wanted to play bigger football. And really my only 2 options at the FBS level were Old Dominion, Air Force, and Georgia State. And so I ended up signing with Old Dominion out of high school.
Okay. You said you had some baseball offers who
Right.
or you were talking to some teams?
Right. Yeah, I mean, it was more like my junior year. I mean,
Right.
like Mars Hill and some other, like they were Division II and then had like some Division I AA schools. But I mean,
Right.
I ended up dropping baseball after that season just because I
Yeah.
wanted to
Yeah.
focus on football and change that lifting regimen like we talked about.
When you're younger, the recruiting's a little lighter unless you're, you know, like
Unless you're
already
just a total
ready to
stud.
go.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So that's pretty normal. So you settled on Old Dominion,
Right.
And I guess the first time you came to Cal Strength, you were it was your first spring at Old Dominion, so you'd been there for a football season.
Right. I'd redshirted and then we were heading into spring ball. Yeah.
Heading into spring ball. So you came out right before spring ball. We're gonna get a little fitness in before you
Right. We're
start.
going to get a little bit of, yeah.
And so I might be remembering this wrong, but you weren't really sure about football at that point, right? Like,
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'd contemplated. I was really struggling with confidence. I mean, I'd went and I'd redshirted. You know, redshirt year is very humbling in college football, especially as an offensive lineman, because most all of the guys do it. And, you know, big fish, small pond kind of scenario. You know, I had succeeded in high school, done very well, and then I'd gotten to college and, you know, I was around some coaches who, you know, I was just unsure if they believed in me. You know, I didn't
Yeah.
really. And, you know, that reflects as a younger guy. I mean, granted, it's only been a few years, but I can just see how much I've grown since then, just like as far as my faith, as far as my confidence and all these different components coming together just to help me become who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I got out here and, you know, I wasn't really sure if I wanted to keep playing football. It's one of those things like me and Wes had been tight for a long time and just wanted to kind of come out here. And he said there'd be a good crowd to work out with. And, you know, I get here and, you know, Kiko, Hooper, and all those guys are here. And, you know, it's like, oh, these guys are pretty cool. You
Good
know, and-
stable. Yeah.
right. Decent workout partners. Yeah.
And you got to do like some field work with you were doing field work with Kiko and the guys, you know,
Right.
NFL. Are you allowed to do that? That's allowed, right? Yeah.
I didn't do field work with those guys.
Oh,
I may have
okay.
just seen them at the field or
Right.
something.
You were just at the field while they were
Right,
training. Yeah. Okay. So you know, so that's probably that's your first time watching like
Right.
that caliber athletes like work. Like, What did you see when you watched that?
Right. So I was able to see it and just see that, a lot of those guys that, they work their butts off and they're successful. And it was just really eye opening for me. I mean, because I don't know, you may get into the rest of the journey kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I wasn't really sure if I was going to play. And then I came out here and honestly just kind of rejuvenated my desire to play football. I kind of fell in love with the game again. That's one way to say it. I ended up deciding that, I wanted to play at a bigger school. I knew that God had given me the ability and I figured it was my duty to go out and give it all I had, so I kind of took a leap of faith there and ended up leaving Old Dominion and the scholarship I had. And I went to Fullerton Junior College right outside of Los Angeles in Orange County. And, that was probably the best decision I ever made. I remember, we were about to head into fall camp and I was just really nervous, didn't really know what to do. Then ended up just feeling, a comfort and peace, was like, let's go. So I called mom and dad, told them what I was doing, got my release. And that was on a Sunday afternoon. They drove 5 hours up to Virginia where I was going to school and helped me pack up. And then the next morning I was on a 6 a.m. flight to LAX.
Jeez.
And,
Damn.
I left
That
my car.
turnaround.
Right. Left my car, left everything. And it was one of those things. It was like, if we're going to do it, let's do it. And
I'm going for it.
Right. And I went out there and I was going for it. But at the same time, I realized, hey, this might be it. This could be the last season I ever played at JUCO. And, I went to Fullerton, love everybody there to death, have some great friends. And, went to Fullerton, all conference, all state, all that kind of stuff. And, God really took care of me there. And, it's kind of where I got my confidence back, kind of just, knew that I could do it again. And, that was really great. And kind of coming out of there, I had a whole lot more opportunities to play ball. And the final two I'd kind of come down to were Colorado State and then Iowa State, the Cyclones. And really like both of those places, but kind of fell in love with Colorado State. And, I wanted to go somewhere where, I knew I could go play left tackle. I don't really like bouncing over to the right side, all that kind of stuff. And so I ended up going there and then
Had a good little time there.
Right. Had a good little time. I was there all of the 19 season. Ended up starting every game. We had a great year.
You had a good game. There was somebody, Charlie sent me the film on it, but he was a really high-level defensive lineman, and you worked him the whole game. Who was that?
Yeah, that was
Let's call him out right now.
That was a Boise State game.
What's
Nah,
his
man,
name?
he's a buddy of mine. He's a good guy, man.
Come on, TJ, get him.
Curtis Weaver. He's with the Dolphins now. Great guy, man. Great friend. Got him on social
Hey,
media.
watch out,
that kind of
Curtis. You
stuff.
better get TJ on your team next year.
That'd be
Otherwise,
cool,
he's
man.
coming back for you.
I'd like to see him again. But yeah, that worked. So started all 12 games. Had a great year. Obviously the year didn't go the way we wanted as a team, and unfortunately our staff got kind of let go. That's kind of been the story, everywhere I've went. I mean, it signed with Old Dominion out of high school. The day after signing day, our offensive line coach was let go. He actually had cancer and he passed away, so it was a very unfortunate situation. My recruiting coordinator, the receivers coach, was fired right after I got there. I got to Fullerton Junior College once I left. Literally 2.5 weeks in, investigation was launched, and that head coach was fired. And so it's just been a journey, and finally get to Colorado State, loving every bit of it. After a year, staff's let go. So I was kind of faced with just the same, opportunity. The thing is, like, a lot of people are like, oh, how do you have such bad luck? It's like, it's okay. I wouldn't change it.
Yeah.
I love the journey. I love everywhere I've been. I wouldn't change it for the world, man. It's made me who I am. And, it's kind of come out of there. It was either, 1, come out for the draft, 2, stay at CSU, or 3, grad transfer. And I just graduated with my undergraduate degree in finance in December. And I figured, let's see what's available. So I hit the transfer portal, and, this time, I was really blessed. I could have went about anywhere I wanted.
Yeah.
And,
I remember, so over Christmas break, me and TJ got a little workout in again. We're talking about it. And LSU was calling him. Like, right. I mean, like, literally he was on the phone. Like, he had somebody or 2 coaches every day. Yeah. It was just all over the place. Right. And this dude was in high demand, like, transferring. And it was so cool to see, because I remember, like, a frustrated TJ that wants to talk to Dave about, like, the finance, like, his major, what's he think about, like, we were considering maybe going up to New York and like doing an internship. Like, he's kind of being pulled everywhere and really unsure, like you said, not necessarily confident. And to see that turn into, like, every coach in the in the U.S. is trying to get this guy. Yeah, it's just so it's really
it's
cool
a testament,
to, like,
not just to, like, like you said, your faith and believing in yourself, but, like, the work you put in just to become this athlete that you are, right?
Right,
and still,
absolutely.
To be looked at like that, that's awesome.
And me and TJ talked about this the other day, but like, coming out of high school, I had the same issue with the confidence. it was just like I just didn't feel like I was like good enough. You know, you watch these guys on TV play ball, and you know, you watch like I grew up watching Tennessee my whole life, right? These guys are like superstars to me growing up, and you know, when you get to the point where you have to decide like what you're capable of for a college career, it's hard to feel like you deserve that.
Unless you've seen someone that looks like a star to you so long, and you're finally there, you're at the precipice of being that person. It's like, wait, am I? And
if you're not in high demand, and these coaches aren't, you know, ringing your bell every day, like you just don't feel capable. And you know, maybe there's more in there, and you're almost just scared to put it out there. And I mean, that was me, and it sounds like that was TJ a little bit too. But you know, they found himself, and you know, it's really like it's an amazing like opportunity for him now. It's just unbelievable. Do you have like what advice would you give to somebody coming out of high school that's feeling unsure about like where they can play, what they're capable of?
Yeah, I just say bet on yourself, man. Bet on yourself every single time. You know, like just look at all these different journeys. And, you know, I didn't really finish the story, but I'm at TCU.
We'll get there. We'll get to the end.
We ended up going to
for the slow burn.
It's not going to finish until next year, anyways. When TJ's back on, telling us what it's like to play in the league.
The part 2.
What it's like to get drafted real high.
What's his name? Curtis Weaver. We're just like pancaking Curtis Weaver.
Let's not be hateful.
We're gonna tag him too. We're gonna cut this up.
No, it's all love, but it's a pancake nonetheless.
Nah, he's good.
Yeah, you text him up, let him know.
We'll get him on too. We'll call him in.
So advice. I don't know, man.
If you guys arm wrestled, who would win?
I don't know.
Curtis.
I don't know.
This is a great table for it.
It's an arm wrestling table.
I don't think TJ.
Who would win, Wes or you?
Well, I'm left-handed, so I think we get 1-1. I'd take the left side.
You're left-handed.
Yeah.
I like you more now. That's good.
Southpaw.
You guys are both weird.
Yeah.
Both weirdos.
Okay. Yeah, advice. What do you got?
Yeah,
bet on yourself. That's right, dude.
Right. Believe in yourself, man, because I mean, I feel like it's almost human nature to doubt other people. You know what I mean? There's so many guys back and forth that just want to, you know, oh, I've seen him, you know, he's not all that. You know, think about the high school heroes. You know what I mean?
Right.
Everybody. Oh yeah, if I wouldn't have torn my ACL in high school, I know you wouldn't have. You know what I mean?
Throw football over them mountains,
right? Yeah, you know, I had an offer to. So no, you did. You know what I mean? You weren't a good football player, and it's so many people can't admit that they weren't successful at stuff, and you know, it's hard. But at the same time, you just got to realize, you know, it's part of life. You know, like I went to these places, I was doubted, and you know, it was unfortunate, but it made me who I am, and I love every bit of it now.
Right.
Like I got like a wall that I just put together a few months ago that I love. Like just this was for my grad transfer kind of recruiting process. You know, there was a lot of like people would send me stuff from message boards and all those kind of stuff where people are talking. Like even to me, like an offensive lineman, just the fact that people still have time to talk about just a very bland position like that. You know what I mean? And there was one, like there was some guy that commented, he was like, oh, this guy played near my high school. He's an above average FCS player at best, below average FBS player. And I was just like, who are you, man? You know what I mean? Like,
what do you know?
Right.
How much offensive lineman film?
Right. And first of all, for him to like have this kind of like system to where above average FCS, but below average, like,
as you ranked.
Who are you to have this tier system? You know, I don't even know who this guy is. And it's
people
like,
do that in weightlifting.
I actually sat down
too.
and ranked all the linemen coming out of high school.
Yeah.
That was
right. So like, it's people like that.
an
I'm like,
arduous
dude,
process.
you're a loser, man. You know, it's just like, I have just a whole wall of that kind of stuff, like just stuff that fuels me. And like every morning I'll just look up and I'll look at it. And man, it just gets me ready to fight, you know, and I love it.
You saw it the other day. I posted that 210 double and miss. And so just a little like background story. We're in like the middle of a volume cycle. Like would rather do anything than come to the gym because we're dog tired.
Right.
Everything hurts. So we're just working hard. We're just trying to stay in the fight, keep working hard, get as much out of it as we can. So I've got this 210 double, which would be a huge PR. I got no legs, and I'm trying to take a crack at this thing. I do the ugliest clean of my whole life, and this is a weight I open with in competition.
It's above 90%.
210. I've been opening 210 clean jerk in competition. I go to do this clean and just get crumpled. Like I've got no core. I just get mushed. I'm mashed potatoes on his bar. I have to step it out. and I've got another rep. So with 100% full doubt, I step up to the bar and just give it hell. Like I've got nothing, and I do a really nice clean high pull, and it falls to the ground. And this dude gets in the comments. He's like, I don't know, our US's best 109 lifter, not even as good as international 96's. Like whatever.
What are you talking about?
And I'm like,
what 96 is doubling 210 on a clean?
I don't think any of them are, and if they're doing it, they're probably not doing
they're
it.
definitely on that good creatine.
Well,
you know.
It's the context of the training, though. We always talk about it. It's like we work. When we're far out from a meet, we're just doing work. Like it's just how much can you do?
And it's heavy. It's always heavy.
It's just
so
hard, and you're gonna miss lifts. And no way is it like indicative of your capabilities.
No, not at all. Not in a volume cycle, anyway.
If I tried a 210 double, tapered for competition, like if that popped up in a realization cycle, I'm probably gonna hit it, you know. And it's just like this guy comes in with no context, just like trying to just shit stir. It's just
so easy for people to
And so I just wiped it away, delete the comment, and block the dude, and then it's gone. I don't even have to think about it. And like I do that because I don't like none of that negativity needs to be in the comments. Like I don't want people that follow me and watch my stuff. I don't even want them like dealing with this guy.
Exposed to that, yeah.
Like that's what he wants.
That shitstorm of like replies, like basically people just saying in a more aggressive way what we just said. Like, who are you?
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
You're not worth the crap. So I just get it off, and really. If you go through my posts, there's not a lot of negativity, and that I like that. And when I first came out to Cal Strength, that's kind of like I wasn't that good yet, very inexperienced, but I was pretty strong and pretty capable. But that's when I got the most just kind of hate, just people being crappy. And I don't know if it was because I was up and coming, kind of in the middle ground or what. But you just you can't dwell on that stuff because it's not positive. It's not really going to help you at all. Like TJ uses to fuel his fire. You can stoke the flames a little bit for some training or a game or whatever, but it's just crap, especially like when you're digging it out of the Instagram comments.
And anything like if I'm a firm believer in like if you want to do something at a high level and you want to achieve what's impossible to some people, that kind of negativity does have an effect. And you really need to have this mindset of positivity and I can do it and all that to like really access your full potential,
right?
Because there's if you let that kind of stuff get into your ear, the next time you're doing that double, you're thinking, oh, there's a 96 in Europe who can do it. That's not helping you.
Well, I'm not gonna spend a day commenting back and forth with this clown either. Like I've got to train, I've got stuff I need to do. I don't.
And that's like a testament to being sure of yourself in a good way. Like as an athlete, like I don't even have to pay attention to this.
This guy's getting none of my time. And he's not getting anybody that follows. He's not getting their time either. Nobody's caring about this guy, and he's gone forever. And that was just like, she said, you mad about that? I was like, no, I'm not mad about Instagram. I said, what was I mad about? Somebody did something else.
He was mad at something else.
Yeah, I was grumpy about something. I was like, no, I don't give a shit about Instagram. Like these guys don't, that's just crap. And like, you just have to learn to deal with that. Like, don't like any kind of like judgment that someone doesn't even know you. Like they're going to place it on you. Mm-hmm. There's no, like it shouldn't have any merit, because it doesn't mean anything. This guy, like he wouldn't say it to my face. If this dude saw me out, he'd probably want a picture.
He follows you on Instagram, like
exactly.
He probably liked the post. Yeah,
he probably liked it. Like, what do you like? What I just don't even understand, But definitely, like they're not gonna say it to your face. They're not gonna say it out. Like, so it's not really anything. It's just like. Somebody's bored and they want to do something on Instagram.
Stir the pot a little bit. It's
so,
stupid,
like, just never let that stuff, like, if anybody's dealing with that or, like, they're catching hate, like, dude, don't worry about it. Like, it's nothing.
It off.
It's literally nothing. Like, let it, like TJ, let it motivate you. Like, man, this sucker's going to see, like, this guy's going to see when I get drafted next year. Like, mediocre. Like, kiss my ass. I'll see you in the league, baby. Like whatever. Like that's all. It's almost fun. Like
you're a VIP member to comment on some fan page.
It's just laughable. So like that stuff's in everybody's life, especially on the internet. But don't take too much stock in what the internet has to say.
Yeah.
All right, TJ. So you were so how do you switch schools 4 times in college? I don't even understand.
I didn't even know you could.
I didn't know you could play for 4 teams.
Right. So I mean, it's been 3 in a junior college. So
Hey, don't kick the table anymore. You can't be on the podcast anymore.
sorry,
We're turning it off right now.
Someone's gonna get in the comment section and be like, "That boy don't even know how to kick."
Whose phone
He's
went
kicking
off?
these tables.
Oh my gosh! We said moon mode. Was it
I'm on
Adam?
mood mode. Oh, that's the computer,
Oh, the
bro.
computer!
The computer.
Nobody hit moon on the computer, dude. All right.
All right, we'll start
Sorry,
over.
yeah.
Introduce yourself.
This podcast is great.
hey guys, it's TJ.
So how do you change?
Okay, so 3 schools and a JUCO. Is
Right.
What you said.
Yeah. So 3 schools. It's making a line up with the eligibility center. The NCAA has strict guidelines and strict institutional rules that every person has to follow to play in their leagues.
Right.
And like sign with ODU, national letter of intent. That's the first one. I'd been there over a full year, so the decision to go to a JUCO was easy. Once you're at a junior college, the NCAA rule to transfer back to another Division I program is to have your associate's degree completed. So when I left ODU, I was mostly done with my undergrad degree. So I essentially had my associates when I was out there. It was more of a football decision rather than school, like a lot of people go for. A lot of people go the JUCO route because they weren't eligible out of high school, but I was doing it as from a recruiting standpoint.
Right.
And once I got there, I got to Colorado State. So that's where kind of, 4-2-4. You're at a 4-year school, 2-year school, 4-year school. After you're at that last 4, it's kind of hard to go somewhere else unless you graduate. So you look at like Russell Wilson a few years ago. He was the graduate. He was like the first guy to really make this graduate transfer rule take off. It's called the Russell Wilson rule by a lot of people.
Oh, cool.
And, he went from NC State to Wisconsin, I think, and, balled out there, was a baseball player, did all that kind of thing. And it was that same thing. So I graduated in this last December with my undergrad degree. And once you have that degree, you're able to graduate transfer somewhere else for your final 1 or 2 years, depending on how your eligibility stands. So that's the one way to kind of get a loop around of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what?
So it's a master's program that you're going
right.
to.
So technically, like you look at the NCAA bylaws and kind of dig into the rules, you have to do a master's program that's not actually quote unquote offered at the school you leave because you're leaving to pursue that master's program.
Oh.
So it's kind of the NCAA saying, "Oh, you're a student athlete when you're going there to play football." You know what I mean? So that's just kind of the way that works.
So what'd you pick? What'd you pick
You
that
get your
wasn't
master's
offered
in,
at
like,
Colorado?
So the way it works
Interpretive
is
dance.
right. Pole dancing, and the way it kind of
Interpretive pole dancing?
right? Interpretive pole dancing. Yeah, you got to write dissertations on dances.
There's a doctorate even.
Yeah, maybe next year. Let's see. So what was the question?
What's your master's?
Right. So I got my undergrad in finance and my master's program. I wanted to do one that I could complete. So the only one I could complete in a year is liberal arts. So I'm doing my master's in liberal arts right now.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you get the loophole.
English or like?
Right. Yeah. Liberal arts kind of just interpretive and like a lot of criminal justice based classes. It's kind of a general master's program. It's one of those that you can do. Like this summer, I'm taking a course on David Bowie and I'm taking a course on like Jesus and his application to society. So it's really just a lot of broad spectrum classes that you can kind of look like. I took a film course and some other stuff that you can apply. So it's been really a cool program. Kind of very different than finance, like my undergrad was. Kind of seeing both sides.
Yeah.
Right.
So what so when you decided to transfer from Colorado State, what was it? You said you got some new coaches. What was it that made you decide to go somewhere else? Was it you thought you'd get a better look and then for the league? Or
I always try to be as respectful as I can. They ended up hiring a coach who I didn't really think that I aligned with, one as a player, two as a person, and had a meeting with them, and no disrespect, but I just felt like I'd be better off playing another place. And another thing you look at, like I filled out the necessary paperwork to see if I should come out as a junior and all that stuff. They give you like a grade of first round, second round, or come back to school. And I got the come back to school grade because, only like 20 guys get, those kind of grades. That's the NCAA's way of telling all juniors to come back to school.
Right.
And I did that, and it was kind of like saying, you need some tape against better competition. So that led me to think, well, let's just go play Power 5 football and go give it a shot, right? So, especially when I could have went to about anyone I wanted, it was kind of perfect.
So this next season, you're going to be farming game film.
Right.
Pancakes.
Just going ham every day. You're reading your wall of that one comment before the game. I'm going to take this guy out.
So you've been at TCU now. You've done a semester?
Right.
What do you think? What's TCU like?
I love it, man. my favorite school I've been to.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great place. I mean, Fort Worth, Texas, great area. I just love the program too because it's a small school with a big time football program.
Right.
You know, it's a private school, has under 10,000 students. And then you look at like playing Big 12 football at the Carter, you know,
Right.
having a big time stadium,
Yeah.
big time division, you know, and it's a lot of fun.
They had a really nice run, like, what's probably been like 5 years ago?
Right.
Or 6 years ago?
Well, they've only been in the Big 12 for about 10 years, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they beat, let's see, they had that Rose Bowl comeback against Oregon. That was a
Yeah.
lot of fun. They were down 31-0 at half. That was an awesome game. And then a couple other things. I mean, they're a great program about every year. So that's why I want to be a part of it.
So what's it like when you walk into new facilities with new guys and you have to get to know them? And, you know, as an underclassman, it's very, you know, it's kind of nerve wracking. Like you have to be around all these older men and they, you know, they're not going to necessarily see you as a threat or a viable player, you know, and then as you get older, now as you come in, you're coming in to like take a job like you did at Colorado State, like you did at TCU. So like, what's it like as you come into these new programs and facilities and meet people?
It just depends on the situation, you know, like, I mean, you look at as a young underclassman, he's coming with his eyes wide open, not really sure what to expect versus, you know, a more mature grad level guys going to do a job. You know what I mean? That's really all you think about. You know, it's more of a business decision rather than, hey, I want to go here because they got cool uniforms like you do in high school. You know what I mean? And it's,
Just love purple.
Right. Right.
I just want to party. So.
That too.
Yeah, well, that's like, you know, you're such a personal dude too. So I'm sure like you've got friends at all these schools now. I'm
Right.
sure, right?
Absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
you keep up with all these dudes, and like even we played Warzone with somebody that you were roommates with at Old Dominion the other day. And he's also transferred. He said Wake Forest.
Right.
Is
Yeah.
that right?
Miles Fox. He's a graduate transfer, plays defensive line at Wake Forest.
So it's just like, it's cool that you've been able to like, you've spread your inner circle,
right,
literally coast to coast.
Yeah.
Like you've got best friends in North
in the
Carolina
middle,
and
too.
Statesville.
In the middle, in Colorado,
and then Texas, right?
Texas,
everywhere.
Like you're doing it all, and that's just I mean, that's so cool to like have friends everywhere. And you know, like I said, you're such a nice personal guy. I'm sure you've got like good friends all over the place.
Right.
So looking forward to next year, you know, are you feeling like the pressure? Are you feeling kind of like nervous, you know, this last year with the new team? And, you know, if you do great, you know, you're gonna get a job playing football for real next year. So, you know, like that's gotta be a lot of pressure. And like how do you know, how are you thinking about it? How do you mitigate and navigate like all this, like this pressure and these expectations?
Right. I'd say it's just kind of channeling your priorities in different places. You know, like, I mean, obviously, am I going to be a little nervous? Yeah, but who isn't? You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like I've been doing this football thing since I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
There's one more year. It's going to be a make or break year, and whatever happens, you know, who cares? I did it. You know what I mean? I gave everything I had on this journey, you know, and I wouldn't change it for anything. And, you know, if I'm blessed to do that and have that opportunity, then heck yeah, I'm going to give it everything I got to do it. You know, I've been playing football this long. That'd be crazy not trying to keep going. Right.
Yeah.
And you got a graduate degree in liberal arts, so you've always got the backup plan.
Undergrad in finance.
I can get any job in the country with that liberal arts degree. Yes.
You can be an accountant who writes
also
stories.
Runs the PR department. I don't
know. There you go. I'll do your taxes and dance for you.
I can work at a financial firm, then go protest it after. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. Your sign making skills are going to be on point after this master's program.
That's awesome. So, if you could play anywhere next year in the whole world,
in the league,
in the league, of course, or in the CFL, in the NFL or
in the
CFL.
XFL.
I guess we can include
the LFL.
So, in any of the leagues, favorite team that you would want to play for?
Just my first answer is any team. I would be glad to play for you. Thank you. My second one is the Los Angeles Rams.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
dude, LA is so nice.
Coolest uniforms.
Right.
LA is beautiful.
Uniforms.
Yeah,
I like the Seahawks,
Seattle.
man. Seattle's got the good uniforms.
It's got that bright green. Yeah,
neon green's like my favorite color, so it's kind of hard for me.
I mean, when they rolled that out, it's different.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, okay, go to LA, and then we'll get to hang out all the time.
That'd be fun.
Kind of, it's only like 7 hours away, so
right. 6, yeah, not too far.
Perfect. All right. Well, I've had something. Hold on. I had something. Don't do that. Oh no.
Just loves that.
Oh no. Oh, I had an important one. Oh no. What do you have to talk to TJ about?
I'm just waiting for his transition to weightlifting, man. Fucking
That's
175.
Oh, I know
power
what it
clean.
was. I know what it was.
It's not happening.
So like you're one of the, like in any school, at every school, you've been one of the stronger guys, especially in the clean.
Yeah.
Right. So like, when did you really get into strength training?
I mean,
This is the most important part of the podcast.
Yeah, this is kind of what the podcast is.
Yeah, that's what it's about. We work out. You know,
I didn't even know that.
We're really into working out,
That's cool.
exercising,
We thought
calisthenics.
we were going to talk about Twitch this whole time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I got these notes on Luigis Mansion. But I'll put those away quietly.
Where'd you get into working out?
Yeah.
You said you were really weak in high school. So.
Right. I mean, I think it was more so just growing into my body. But I mean, I've always been a fitness head. I mean, I didn't understand the sport of Olympic weightlifting and become a big fan of it until you got into it. And then obviously I was going to support you in whatever you did.
Appreciate that.
So kind of when you made your switch, I kind of really started diving in, watching some old, looking at old Olympic, like watching the Olympics from like the past and stuff.
Yeah.
And that was really cool. And then obviously I've watched every one of your meets you've had since you've been out here. But I'd say I kind of became a fan like my senior year of high school. I kind of really fell in love with like cleaning and like all that kind of Olympic lifts that I'd never really learned before, just because you look at a lot of like conventional high school weightlifting programs, they don't include those lifts. They include like maybe a muscle clean once a week where you're just going from the hang.
Yeah.
And it's such an art in itself, and it's so fun to learn how to do properly that, once you do it, it's something you want to keep working on. It's just like any other hobby or craft you have or job for you, it's just, you want to master it. So that's kind of fell in love with it there, and I've just been working on it, and then I got the opportunity to work out with guys like you. So that helps,
I mean, that's something we talk about is the importance of those lifts in athletics, the clean. I think we said this last podcast, but it's basically the only lift where you're going to produce a force and slow one down at the same time. You give a blow, you take a blow. You're developing hip extension. You're what? You got something? Yeah. You want it? Yeah. But
questionable.
Phrasing. Nothing like that happens in Cal Strength.
No one does that. But yeah, it's just important. And, if you're a strength coach, you got to figure these things out, because every college now is doing, you've been to most colleges,
right?
And you've seen them firsthand, and they all do cleans, right?
Yep.
So if you're not doing cleans, you're probably missing the boat.
Agree.
You're like the last one.
Mm-hmm.
You're the last moron that's still not including any Olympic weightlifting in your program.
Was there any real difference in strength programs from all those schools?
Yeah, they definitely vary a lot. I mean, it just depends on, there's kind of a new gen era that's going to include a lot of Olympic lifting and do all that kind of thing. And then you have kind of some older school guys who, maybe have just never properly learned it, so they don't feel comfortable teaching it, which, I mean, you kind of got to respect at the same time, but you kind of got to realize that, weightlifting's changing and becoming more powerful, and everybody's learning the proper way to do these things to maximize your output.
It's your job. If you're a strength coach, that's your job.
Right.
You got to learn.
Yourself, figure it
That's
out.
your only job.
You can't stop learning, because then you get old.
Not in that field.
Become a dinosaur. You're still doing powerlifting like they were 10, 20 years
driving
ago.
like Mark Ripito.
You got to keep up, man. So like for you, you're a lot bigger than most people, and you have to be football ready. So like for your training, what do you find is like most important, or what do you try to get out of your training when you go to the gym?
I mean, for me, obviously, you want to be as strong as you can as an offensive lineman, because your job's literally to move people against their will. But at the same time, like for me personally, and for a lot of offensive linemen, our biggest issue is our flexibility and mobility.
Right.
So like working on all the stuff that you don't actually want to do, as far as like whether it be, yoga. I do yoga twice a week right now.
TJ, what's your best squat?
I've never went above 500. I can do it pretty right.
You gotta get strong. The Cal Strength camera guy.
That's pretty bad. I mean, like I can do it for reps, but I just don't really. I don't know.
Care to?
Right. Yeah. It's just like why at this
like
point.
More of
Right.
an exploding 501 hard time body.
Correct.
So as one of the best offensive linemen in the country, tell the other ones how to work out. Tell them what to do. What do you do? What's important? You said yoga is
Stretch.
twice a week. That's big time.
Right.
If you're playing any sports, you should probably hit the yoga twice a week.
That's awesome. And we need to be doing that too.
All right, keep it rolling. What else?
I mean, offensive line play is one of the few positions in the world where it's almost all technical. You know, like you have some freak athletes at the position, they're going to excel and be the top, but even if they kind of get away from their technique, like say they pass set and they open their hips right away, they're going to lose against elite pass rushers, you know? So it's one of those things, just focus on your technique. I mean, there's so many resources out there for offensive line play right now, and it's really been growing, you know? I think offensive line play and weightlifting actually have a lot of commonalities when you look at like how, you know, just the need for proper coaching has kind of came along in recent years, you know, like you look at like the last 10, 15 years, conventional way was kind of, hey, just do this and get strong. You know, hey, just do this and block the guy in front of you. But you're looking now like, hey, there's a certain way to do both of these things. And if you want to be the best you can, you need to do them that way, you know?
Well, O-lineman used to be almost exclusively a 3-point stance position, right? And now you guys are almost never.
Right. Tackles typically stay in a 2 most all the time. And then the guards and centers are still in a 3.
The game of football is changing, you know. Every year it's getting more technical, and that's on every side of the ball, you know.
Yeah.
Like we had Kiko on, and Kiko's talking about how, you know, he can't play probably as rough and as like loose as he'd like to because he ends up knocking Joe Flacco's face off, and then he has to pay a big fat fine. Right. So he finds himself like almost he's got to like think more, and he's got to like I don't know, there's just more processing involved. But like for offensive linemen, it's more of like you have to maintain a position so you have a good leverage against another man that's trying to get past you, right?
Right.
And so if you flip your hips, or you said open them up,
right?
If you open your hips, now what, you give away your inside, or
right? You give away your inside, and you give them a shorter edge to the quarterback. That's more for tackles than guards. But you look at like you got an edge rusher like Vaughn or somebody like that who's lined up outside of you, and they have that line in their head that they want to take straight to the quarterback and not be interrupted. If you don't get in that line and stay in the correct position, they're going to beat you, you know? And it's like, as far as if you open up and you're looking at them rather than staying square to the line of scrimmage, gives them a 2-way go to get past you. So there's just so many like little things like that.
Very technical positions.
Right.
So
absolutely.
if you want to excel, he's saying you better find a coach.
Right.
And that's like,
and just watch pro tape. I mean, watch tape of guys that know what they're doing. You know, there's a lot of coaches that don't have any idea.
When we talk about how to get into weightlifting, that's like the first thing.
Step one,
you know, like coach. Make sure you love it and you're passionate about it, and you learn a little bit offline. But once you're there and you care about it and it's something you really want to do, you got to find a coach. You know, find somebody that can really teach you and invest time in you and make sure that you're learning. And then don't be afraid to level up, and hopefully your coach supports that. You know, they support you going to a new school and kind of finding your way, going to a new coach, or new, you know, just moving up. A lot of people get stuck with the same old guy they worked with when they first started, and you know their development suffers. And I'm sure you see that in athletics too. You know, you get with some strength coach when you're 5, and you know he's an older fella. And then you never like look anywhere else. You keep going back to the same guy doing deadlifts, and you know, like try to find the best out. You know, don't just settle for the guy, you know, that you've had since you were 5, and hopefully
the known,
you know,
the comfortable.
The best situation is that this guy helps you find the best coach out. You know, like he realizes that you're talented and spectacular, and he looks to find, you know, someone that can continue developing
your growth,
you know, and that should be how it works in weightlifting and football and really anything, you know, like you should want the people you work with to achieve at the highest level. And, you know, the odds of, you know, even if I had like an athlete, the high school kids, like the odds of me being able to tell them something about football that a college coach or maybe someone with different or more experiences has is unlikely, you know, and I'm going to help them find a new, you know, way of thinking, or a new, you know, new information, and keep developing. So that's probably pretty good advice there, Big Teach. It's not really exercise. What's your favorite exercise? What's the most important offensive line exercise?
Ooh.
If you don't say clean, you're off the podcast.
Clean.
We'll delete it all.
Perfect. Second most important.
Sure.
there we go.
Yeah, you guys go overhead all the time on the field, don't you?
Yeah, bro, we do that every day. It's very applicable.
Dude,
Super mobile.
If you clean and jerked a D lineman next year, you're definitely going top 3 rounds.
That'd be pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a penalty though.
Mm-mm.
No, you just can't slam the bar.
Right.
It's just like weightlifting. No bar slamming, no body slam, but all right, put it overhead.
All right, well,
Keep your hands on his body till it passes the shoulders.
you know, I feel pretty good about this one. TJ told us a lot of really
Yeah, I learned
really
a
nice
lot
stuff
about
about himself.
TJ and Power Cross and your journey.
Yeah,
and
Power
I
Cross
think it's
is
pretty
awesome, man.
freaking
That
awesome,
stuff's
dude.
so cool.
Yeah.
And like anybody that's willing to, like give up like comfort and what they've got going on to take a risk to help
Yeah.
other people. Like that's so.
And that's
cute.
what I love. Like this podcast, we can take anyone from any background, and it's just sports, you know. And we
Just
can
figure
always
it
have
out.
it. It always connects.
Always
every
connects.
time.
Everything is weightlifting.
Yeah,
Everything's sports.
literally. Everything is weightlifting.
TJ, is there anything like? Is there anything else about Power Cross or football or fitness? Anything you got left? Anything you want to spew out
Any,
before
like
we
main
get out of here?
pages or
I think that's it, brother.
I think that's it.
Yeah,
Was that fun?
that was a lot of fun.
Is that your first?
Appreciate y'all
podcast?
having me. It was my first podcast.
You're really good.
Right.
You're a really good speaker.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah,
You
absolutely.
interview well. You've got really pretty eyes too.
Thank you. Maybe
They're really light blue. If you can't tell in the video.
I'm the minority here.
Also,
with the brown eyes.
possible recurring guest in the
Yeah. Do
future.
you have a girlfriend, TJ?
I don't. I'm single. Hit me up.
So we're gonna put that out there for sure.
Follow at TJ Storm on
72.
Instagram. At TJ Storm 72.
And what's your phone number, TJ?
Address,
1-800.
blood type, and social.
Yeah. Do you have a social security number?
I do.
Okay. Well, I think that's it for the Be Somebody podcast today. Thanks for listening. Thanks, TJ,
Thank
for
you.
coming on the podcast.
Thanks, man.
Wish you the best next year and in all your NFL endeavors. I'm sure I will see you around.
There'll be a part 2.
Let's do it. Yep.
Stick around. We'll get TJ back.
All right, guys.